Hey y'all, a little overdue for a golf cart video here, but this one is going to be about reviewing what I've done so far on most of the upgrades. This is after VIR, and man, we put the golf cart through its paces, and all the upgrades we did work really well. Some worked better than others. Nothing failed, but there are definitely some improvements that need to happen. So let's go through this. Won't be too long, but at least informative. All right, so I'm just gonna kind of breeze over a few things here. The lift kit and the tires and the suspension, everything worked perfectly, and no issues. It was fantastic. It definitely helped in some of the thicker grass area running around VIR. No slipping or getting stuck in mud with the tires. It did rain that weekend, and I did go on an adventure with the golf cart, and it was strong. No issues with grip or control. The winch worked perfectly, loading in and out of the truck when I was getting it home. The golf cart fit into the trailer that we were staying in, but then once I parked the trailer, I had to load it up into the truck. I've done it multiple times before with the winch loading and unloading, but it just consistently keeps working and is a very safe and very reliable way to load the golf cart. And I highly suggest that if you are going to be loading it in and out of a back of a truck, put the winch on there and just make life safer. It's definitely worth it. The cargo carrier mounted up front and in the rear. Just this year, we didn't really use it at VIR. I definitely plan on using it in other scenarios and other places, but it did its job. It worked well. The little tow strap here at the front of the golf cart definitely helped with loading and unloading. So all that worked really well without any issue. Moving on, the light kit, the headlights and the turn signals and everything worked magnificently. It was necessary to have them there, especially when we're running around at night, seeing the track and seeing the paddock area. The headlights worked well, the turn signals worked well, especially interacting and being in the same area as other cars. It just adds a level of communication to that other driver and just lets them know where you're going. So they worked really well. Let's see, moving to the back. Of course, the seat worked well, worked great, just like you see the cooler here. Was able to put stuff on there, move it around, riding on the back. It was three of us at VIR, so there was one person always on the back, and didn't have a single issue there. The RGB lights, those worked great. The adhesive, the 3M adhesive that's on the back side of them that comes on the lights, it held perfectly, and it got drenched, it got muddied all up underneath the footwell here. It's still solid, so happy with that. We did actually flip on the RGB lights, and it cycled through the fast mode of the different light colors, and we blasted the Mario Kart star power, and we got a few laughs from people as we were zipping by. So it was a fun moment, fun memory. The box, the ammo box storage back here came in handy. Just kept everything dry and clean, and it stayed solid in the seats. There wasn't sliding around. But let's see. Steering wheel, perfectly fine. The radio, let's talk about this for a second. The radio worked really well. Had no problems hooking up Bluetooth so that we could play Star Power, any of our favorite music, and we actually tuned into the track radio station so that we could hear the race and the commentators at any point, at anywhere at the track. So Was super helpful, especially when you go to the grandstands around the track. There are some that are far and remote from any type of speaker system for the track, so I end up pulling up alongside some good old veteran racers. Some older guys have been doing this a lot longer than I have, and I turned it up and blasted it, and they were thankful. They commented on it to me about having that radio and how it's nice actually hearing something when you're sitting and watching a race. Now, between something I did notice, something between the RGB lights and the radio, I am noticing that there might be a slight draw on the battery. So I'm having to charge the golf cart once every, well, let's say once every 2 weeks, maybe a week. It just depends on the temperature. I know the weather is starting to set in. We're starting to go into fall, so it's getting cold and batteries get a little finicky. And I also noticed this battery is back from 2013, so realistically, it could be the battery or it could be a slight draw. So more to come on that, but right now, charging it once a week or once every 2 weeks is really not an issue for me. The handles that I showed you guys that were matching to the canopy handles up here that I had mounted to the uprights. They're off, as you can see, and that is because one didn't. I had a suspicion, but we saw it in the field, and that was when somebody grabbed it and pulled themselves up, it slid down the upright, and it actually pulled the strap through the little clip that's on there. So I got to find another way to mount those so that they don't slide down or they don't want to come undone. So if you're going to put handles on there, they work pretty well, but heavy use, they're going to slide down and come off. So that's why I'm doing these videos, so you guys kind of get a feel for what to expect. But yeah, so handles were definitely handy, but I need to improve on those. But the biggest thing that I've noticed, let's talk about the biggest noticeable difference. One of the best upgrades I can say was in the engine bay. The relocated air filter worked really well, and with these big giant tires, it definitely threw up a lot of mud. It threw up a lot of water, and you could definitely tell after the weekend the engine bay definitely had water flying around. So I know the normal air box would have been fine, but for peace of mind, that air filter worked really well. Even in the rain, it didn't suck up any water, didn't suck up any mud or anything like that. It was perfectly clean. So that was a huge win. The other one was the oil catch can. Now, I didn't think to record this, but after the weekend, I did some maintenance. I cleaned off the golf cart. It was muddy as all get out. It had thrown mud everywhere. So cleaning it out, looking at things, I drained the oil catch can, and there was a noticeable amount of oil in it. It had to have been a few ounces, but a few ounces of oil getting thrown into the intake on a small engine like this is not the best. So that oil catch can really came in handy. And if you're going to be any sort of off-road, getting the golf cart to jostle around, that was a big win. I'm very impressed with that oil catch can. Now, one of the things that needs the biggest improvement, that is the light bar. Now, the light bar worked really well. It was super bright. It was blinding in some cases. But the issue that I ran into was when it is pitch black out. I'm going to get up in the golf cart here. When it is pitch black out, and it was kind of raining, so we had this, we had the windshield up the entire time. Well, when it's pitch black out, you have the headlights shooting out from the bottom, no big deal. But when you turn the light bar on, the light was so bright that it was hitting the top of the canopy, the little bit that's in front of the light bar. I'll show you. So it was actually hitting, the light was hitting here, and it was bright enough and drastic enough that it was bouncing off back into our eyes and was somewhat blinding when you are in a very dark area. It's kind of like when you're going down a good old country road and someone turns an interior light on, all of a sudden you really can't see. You can't see as far, you can't see clearly, so what I will be working on is a type of, I guess, divider or blind. Basically, I would like to find a piece of plastic that goes all the way across to just shield any reflection that's coming off of the canopy here. It would have been better had we had the windscreen down, because when it hits the windscreen, it was reflecting off of this too, and it just threw a lot of light back into our eyes. But it was raining for half of the weekend, and it was a lot of overcast, so we found use for the light bar. Found a lot of use for it, but just the amount of light that was blasted back into our eyes really created a problem. So that will be something that, you know, if you mount the light bar like this, you definitely are going to need some type of blind here, you know, piece of black plastic, or I don't know just yet. I have to figure that out. But if you were to mount it on top of the canopy, or you know, just maybe out in front of it, just where the light wasn't hitting the canopy back into the driver's eyes, wouldn't have had a problem. So so far everything worked. Everything worked really well, but the light bar was definitely the biggest, you know, issue that we ran into. And the next thing here, I know you guys are probably going to be like, duh, but I wanted to go through it myself and see the, you know, the need for it. But with the tires standing out from underneath the body here, out from underneath, any type of water, grass, mud, anything that those tires touch threw up all over the golf cart. Just, it covered it in mud. I had this thing, just, it was, Carolina has orange clay. It had it all over the golf cart. So I will be buying heavy duty mud flaps, or fender flares, for the golf cart, and installing those, and I'll make a video out of that to show you guys. But that was the biggest discomfort for me and any passengers, was we were throwing water and mud everywhere. It looked cool. You had rooster tails off of all four tires, but you know, when it's raining, it's kind of cold, and you're uncovered, it threw everything everywhere. So two biggest things to work on are the fender flares and the light bar, just covering it. But oh, and the flagpole worked really well too. We were able to fly the Corvette flag, no problem. Did notice that when you have the windscreen up and you have your flagpole in the back and you're not going very fast, this creates such a pocket of dead air that the flag has a very hard time flying. So if you have a very tall flagpole up over the canopy, you won't have a problem. But if you have the windscreen up and the flag, I don't have it now, but I know you guys have seen it in past videos, when it's, you know, behind the windscreen, this is just pushing air and creating a dead space through here. So unless you were at full speed, it didn't really fly. So something to think about, some little things here and there, but overall, this golf cart has just been great. It performed beyond expectations. Let's see, the solenoid, I know I talked about that and replaced that. Had no issues there, still don't have any issues. And I mean, I couldn't be happier with this. It has been a fun golf cart. I take it every Thursday to a poker night in the neighborhood, and everybody loves it. It's been 100% reliable, no real issues. So anyways, quick little review video. More to come because there are definitely more projects to be had. A lot going on right now, so don't know exactly when the next video is going to come out, but I'll try and make it sooner rather than later. Well, y'all have a good one.